Canadiens are proud to select Cayden Prime.
What's up, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to a brand new episode of the Curfew Boys podcast. It is Tuesday, May 27th at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Myself, Sammy, with my cousin Chris. Hey now. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing pretty good, considering our boys down in the AHL have advanced and are heading to the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time since as far back as I can remember. Chances are I'm going to get this wrong, but could it be the last time the farm team of the Montreal Canadiens went far was when the Hamilton Bulldogs won it? Could it be? I don't know. I don't have the history books in front of me, but all I'm saying is that it's exciting times for the Montreal Canadiens fan base and the organization because, like I said, Laval Rocket are heading to the Eastern Conference Finals against the Charlotte Checkers. Before we get into that, thank you to our viewers for tuning in to this brand new episode on YouTube. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. It is absolutely free. Tell your friends about us. Even though the Montreal Canadiens postseason is over, there's still lots of things to talk about and cover within the NHL and within the Montreal Canadiens organizations. Audio episodes are available on platforms such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and any other podcast platform you use to listen to episodes and podcasts out there. And reminder that our episodes are sponsored by none other than the famous Habs Cave, our boy Sunil, who is a big supporter of the Montreal Canadiens community and the fan base out there. Probably, if you're looking at Montreal Canadiens memorabilia content, he is the best page to follow. Follow Habs Cave on Instagram and give our boy Sunil a big shout out. Awesome guy. And last but not least, Mike's Barbecue Rub. He is a Canadian-based company from Montreal. My buddy Mike from RDP, who creates his own barbecue rub, a spice that you could use on fish, vegetables, and meat for the barbecue, especially. Summer's finally, I think, in Montreal starting to arrive. Barbecue season is here, hopefully to stay for a month or two. Canadian weather. But he also uses his special barbecue rub spices on his chips, the first ones in Canada. So give Mike's Barbecue Rub a follow on Instagram to my boy Mike. Keep going, keep hustling, keep grinding. It's a side project, a side passion project of his. And folks, when you use Mike's Barbecue Rub, don't forget to rub your meat. Visit mikesbarbecuerub.com and give him a follow on Instagram. So, Chris, like I said, the Laval Rocket, we got to talk about them because they're doing something quite awesome. They're playing awesome hockey. They are giving the Montreal Canadiens fan base something to look forward to. It's a very exciting time. And I have to say this. If there's anybody out there who's more excited than the fans, more excited than maybe the players, more excited than Pascal Vincent, the coaching staff, I think it has to be Montreal Canadiens general manager Kent Hughes and president of Hockey Ops Jeff Gordon, because I really think, I want to believe deep down inside that when they started this rebuild, they were hoping to see the development of players they drafted have some success down in the minors before being able to make that jump to the show. And I think so far, and I think as of this point onwards, I remember saying how the Montreal Canadiens season is a success even before they clinched a playoff spot because they exceeded expectations. When we talk about the Laval Rocket, maybe a while back, it was safe. Maybe when they clinched on top of the league, we could say it was mission success, successful season. But I think now that they've gone to the Eastern Conference Finals, they just beat the American Rochesters, which is Buffalo's farm team.
Rochester Americans.
What did I say? American Rochesters?
American Rochesters.
Rochester Americans. Yeah. It's a success. This season for the Laval Rocket is a success, and it comes with its own debatable topics, especially at the goaltender position. But right now, it's clear to me that Pascal Vincent and the coaching staff in Laval are making sure they're establishing the same type of culture that Marty and his coaching staff have instilled with the Montreal Canadiens players. And I know you were at one of the games during the Rochester Americans, so you got to see firsthand how the players played. And I'm excited to hear like what you saw. Like I've been watching the games on TV, available on LDS and flowhockey.com, but I think being in the arena, being able to watch these players live and in the flesh gives a whole different feel and gives a whole different experience. So I'm going to leave it to you to explain what you saw, which players stood out, who do you think needs to play better, who do you think is going to continue to play better. The floor is yours.
Look, I'll start with something outside of the player's control, and that is the atmosphere. I really, really,
Mm,
really like that we have one of the best. I think we do have again the best atmosphere within the AHL. I know sometimes that the teams play at the NHL rinks when they start getting further and further, or they have special events, but nevertheless, that building is rocking, and I think it's a good preparation of what some of these guys might be facing and having up here in Montreal. So that's one good on the Place Belle for the
yeah,
show that they put on every single time. It's just a lot of fun to be a part of.
I agree.
Second, there were a couple cool things. So Florian Jacki has also not been under the microscope, but he's been a player that stood out by far in the playoffs. I'll get back to Florian in a second. It
Yeah.
was great to see his whole family, including Arbor, his mom, his sister, his father, there at the game.
Mm-hmm.
You know how we talk about, and we made the joke that look, the relationship between Marty and Arbor, that's been under scrutiny at times. Well, guess who was sitting in the same box I had directly on
Mm-hmm.
the same level as them.
I'm going to say Marty
Uh,
was there with him.
Marty was there with Arbor in the same lodge, if you will. So
Mm-hmm.
all this to say is that you know don't always believe what you hear. People like to throw shit and hope it sticks, and
When
I,
when
I
has
don't think there's
what
I don't
when
think
have the
there's
curfew
anything there.
boys when have the curfew boys ever been known to follow the narrative?
I mean that's
Just
that's
saying.
just that's just the thing, and we're not here to stir the pot, and we don't want to stir the pot. Just let our players play in peace, and on that front, it's just I want to go back to Florian Jacki because
Mm-hmm.
maybe not as much that game. Unfortunately, I was at the game where they lost 5-1, so it was quite a
Yeah.
beatdown. But
Yeah.
nevertheless, there were two players that really stood out. Three players even. I think Owen Beck is he's still very very solid. Florian Jacki, I will say they keep calling him this unicorn type player, and he's not going to reinvent the history books. He's not going to break NHL records with what he's doing, but he's exactly what the doctor ordered. He's
Mm-hmm.
exactly what we need within this organization. He's exactly the type of player that we want on the third and the fourth line to bring in that that added fierceness and rugged, rough style of play. Florida Panthers, we're going to get to them. Florida Panthers has a roster full of players that are willing to play exactly like Florian Jacki. And I'm going to throw a name out that he's not the exact same player because they do not skate the same way. I think Florian's a great skater. He's not as good as the guy that I'm about to mention, but I'm going to mention playoff Josh Anderson, who
Mm-hmm.
can pot the occasional goal, who can make the occasional play, and who's definitely crunching bodies. That was one of the first names that came to mind, and that was the first, like the style of play that I see Florian Jacki embody. The only difference is I see Florian Jacki, or we saw Florian Jacki do that throughout the whole season, but to see it in person once again was absolutely fantastic. Another player that stood out very very well was Adam Engstrom.
Yeah,
Like
dude. He's
Logan
making a name of himself.
like Logan, I know the big ticket names down on the defensive side are Logan Mailloux and David Reinbacher, but Adam Engstrom, I'm losing my words here. His skating was fantastic. His puck handling was very good. He
Hmm.
had his head up. He had a good understanding of what was going on the ice in the vision sense of things. So like he's a very very good prospect. We're very lucky to have him, and again, I think he's been delivering over the course of the playoffs. Not to mention that the other guys are bad, but we saw a few cough ups from Logan Mailloux in the defensive zone.
That was his worst game of the entire playoffs. That game 4. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I totally agree.
So
Adam Engstrom is making a name for himself too, and I think his skating style. A lot of people are comparing it to Mike Matheson, which is I think is a fair assessment. There's that one play that Angstrom did. Like, I don't know how he was able to skate backwards yet still give a bit of a stride forward to poke check the puck and avoid a counter attack. And that poke check led to, I believe, I don't know if it was I think it was Sean Farrell's goal, like it was a tip in or something, or I don't know if it was a Joshua Ottawa goal, but it was one of those plays where like it all started with just that Adam Engstrom poke check just because of his great skating ability. So I'm happy you bring him up, but the best thing is about you mentioned those 3 defensemen is those are the top 3 defensemen on this team right now as we speak, as far as the stats are concerned. And obviously this leads to it leads to Logan Mailloux is leading the team with 6 points amongst the defensemen in 9 games. After him, it's Reinbacher. Both Reinbacher and Adam Engstrom tied at 4 points in 9 games. Just Adam Engstrom has 1 goal, and David Reinbacher has a goal, whereas Adam Engstrom has only 4 assists. These playoffs, though, we talk about Logan Mailloux. These playoffs, I think, can be. I don't want to say it's the ticket in for Logan Mailloux to make the team next year, but this is something that he needs to thrive on when he comes into training camp next year. This is something he has to show management that, like, no, I could be a part of this team moving forward on a long-term basis. And I know his name keeps getting like there's circulation amongst his name in a trade, whether it is for Crosby, whether it is for that second line center that we're all hoping we get. But I think we need to keep Logan Mailloux for that second power play of the Montreal Canadiens. That bomb of a shot of his is insane. Like it's not a Shea Weber shot, but he showed in London in junior that he's a gamer when it comes to playoffs, and he's showing it now for the first time as a pro. Like game 4, the game that you were at, it was a terrible game. Caused turnovers, took stupid penalties, probably let the emotions get the better of him. Game 5 completely turned it around to the point where he was almost playing as a 4th attacker on the odd man rush, and that created so much confusion for Rochester, for Rochester Americans, that those confusions led to goals because he was like, "Fuck it, I'm going to just park my ass in front of the net just to create confusion." So I thought Logan Mailloux was important, not just for the whole team, but especially for him to have a bounce back game in Game 5.
yeah, I couldn't agree more. I thought I just want to address something based off of what you're saying. There's so many individuals that want to be swinging for the fences
Mm-hmm.
this offseason, and especially in watching the Laval Rocket like come through and develop, and I find it also crazy too just to see the split between the goaltending. Like that's a whole other
Well,
conversation in itself. But
that's a big debate amongst this team right now.
that, and I'm not necessarily in agreement, but I'll just we'll put that on the back burner for now. We have so many of the pieces. Now's not the time to start going crazy and trading everything away. We have so much in place. It's just a question of maybe adding some supporting elements to tie to kind of tide over and wait for these guys to be ready and come in and support with lower impact contracts on the cap that are going to
Yeah.
be great in terms of support. Like it's not the time to go crazy. And I think most importantly, these names, Logan Mailloux, whether it be Arbor Jacki, whether it be Logan Mailloux, whether it be David Reinbacher. I don't think his name has been circulated at all, but I'm just saying, and even I'll go as far as saying Adam Engstrom, from what I'm seeing from him, these are names that you don't even mention in trade propositions right now, just because of what they are doing. Like, they are such good prospects. I
Yeah.
want to see them develop, and these are guys, like, especially with what we're seeing with Laval, these are guys that can turn into and develop into absolutely solid pillars, at least at the very least third line solid supporting players for other teams. And you're going to say, well, we need talent, we don't need more support. Actually, I call
Mm,
bullshit on that. I think at this point in time, we need more support, and we have a lot of the talent. We might be missing one or two guys at the very most. I think everybody's locked in on the second line center, but Michael Hage enters the conversation. Healthy Kirby Doc enters the conversation. Do you really need a superstar second line center? I think you do need somebody to go with Suzuki. On the flip side, the bottom six is up in the air significantly. Other than maybe Jake Evans, there are not very many names that are
mhm.
well established on the roster yet. So please, please, please be patient. It's not a question of having all stars that are going to be coming through, but these guys are going to be solid role players. They're not going to be demanding. We will have nurtured them from the draft all the way to the NHL, and it's going to be natural placements to guys that are going to go away and in trades or potentially free agency, but I'd say more on trades that are going to assure the next bank of prospects and draft picks that we're going to be getting. So it's just, especially with what Laval is achieving, just to say, take a step back and patience, guys. It's the boring route, but it's the safe route, and we're with Gorton and Hughes, and the fact that we got Demidov, which was a huge steal. Like, we are so far ahead. It's now just letting these guys come their potential to come to fruition.
I think they're making sure that they're building proper role players for the
So
Canadiens.
absolutely,
That's that,
absolutely.
but that's what you need. You're telling me the Blake Coleman's, Barclay Goodrow, and who was the third one on Tampa Bay when they won those two cups, their third line, and Yanni Gord.
Well,
You're
yeah,
telling me that like those guys, like, yeah, they weren't the Braden Points, the Kucherovs, or the Stamkoses of that team, but you're telling me those guys didn't have a significant importance to
exactly.
that Tampa Bay team winning the cup. We cannot underestimate the importance of role players. These are guys that come in and help your team win. Now, if the Canadiens are doing it through the draft, and they're hoping that the development of their game grows in the minors, they're doing so while fighting for a championship. I'll take that. I'll take that.
Yeah,
Are all of them going to pan out? Probably not. It's extremely difficult for that to happen. But if out of all of them, you're telling me that the Logan Mayus, the David Reinbachers, the Owen Becks, maybe the Oliver Kapanen, and maybe the Joshua Roy, and hopefully Florian Jacki, if those are the ones that pan out, hey man, all Montreal Canadiens draft picks, doesn't matter whether they're in the first or in the final round. That's a recipe for success for building a proper team. That's
yeah.
that's 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 my opinion. Don't underestimate. Why do you think the Washington Capitals started finding success lately? Look what's going on in Hershey. Look what's
Uh-huh.
going on in Hershey. I know they got swept by Charlotte. We're gonna talk about that. That's gonna be the big challenge for this Laval Rocket teams, that they're facing a team that completely swept last year's champions, almost back to back. But the Hershey Bears. The reason why
Hershey Bears
Washington
have been a pillar. They've been a pillar for years in the
like
AHL.
like 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 what was it? Pierre Maguire from the Eye Test, the Sick Podcast Eye Test with Jimmy Murphy. He cannot stress enough the importance of development in the minor leagues when it comes to culture of not just the team, the organization, and the fact that they've been winning for all these years. There's a reason why. Syracuse, they've been winning, but look at what's going on with Tampa Bay. And I'm not saying that Washington hasn't been winning cups lately, but they've still been one of the better teams of the league. Okay. So what's going on in Laval is extremely important, and there's signs of great things to come, hopefully in the future. I truly, truly believe that. A guy like Logan Mailloux needs this. A guy like David Reinbacher needs this. A guy like Joshua Roy, who finally woke up and needs to continue showing signs of consistency. That's Joshua Roy's biggest challenge, is showing signs of consistency. But when he plays, he can play. And when he scores, you could tell he's fired up because he's screaming all the freaking time. He scores a goal. And it's 3 games now that he scores. So he's an important piece. That top line of veterans of Laurent Dauphin and Alex Barré-Boulet, who are leading this team with Sean Farrell. They relaunched Sean Farrell's image as a pro hockey player, those two. And ever since that top line's been going, even them, they haven't looked back ever since. Barré-Boulet leads the team with 10 points in 9 games. Laurent Dauphin, 9 points in 9 games. Sean Farrell, 8 points in 9 games. They're the top 3 players of this team. That's why they're the top line of this team.
Lucas Condotta, I have to say, what a captain. What a captain, man.
Of course.
He's
yeah.
fantastic.
I
love him down in Laval, and I love the fact that he's leading and showing the way. He drags the guys into the fight. He's always the first guy with his gloves off, fighting, protecting his players. He's a good player. He pots important goals and gets important assists. Just lays it all on the line.
That's why he's the captain.
We've heard that song way too much recently, but he really does.
A freaking song on the Sportsnet. Yeah,
they changed it, didn't they? They changed the Rogers commercial now to "Ain't Seen Nothing Yet" by BTO because people were just losing their minds. Yeah,
probably. Or maybe it's because it's all Leafs footage, but they're no longer in the playoffs, so maybe it could be that. But we'll get to the NHL playoffs before we wrap up this episode. But Lucas Condotta, but that's why he resigned. Laurent Dauphin, that's why he resigned. There's a good thing going on, not just with the team, but within the organization. They believe in the culture. They believe in what they're doing. Maybe Laurent Dauphin accepts, like, look, I probably won't have a chance in the show, but you know what? I could be part of a franchise that still cares, that the community still cares about deeply. It's crazy to see how much the Laval Rocket are just as loved as the Montreal Canadiens, and he wants to be a part of that. That's why he signed a minor league deal. It's great. It's veterans like him that are going to teach these young kids how to be a pro. It's important. Whether it doesn't matter if he's in the minors. It's still the importance of being a pro, the everyday grind of being able to play pro hockey at still a pretty good or close to a top level. It's important. I'm extremely happy for Laurent Dauphin and that he's coming back. I'm extremely happy for these upcoming prospects that are gonna learn from him. It's important. It's very important.
I couldn't agree more. And I think, like, I'm looking at some stats over here. I have multi pages going, but you said it so well. The contributions are coming from everywhere, and I think it's time to actually have the conversation about goaltending. Pascal Vincent, that is a ballsy move to really stick with 2 goaltenders and basically go 1 and 1 and 1 and 1. Have them rotating, like and what's interesting is that both of the kids, even though Primo is a little bit older, both of the kids have had their outstanding games and both of the kids have had their rougher games, and he has not hesitated for a second to make the switches. And I think it's a great opportunity to develop. And at the same time, Cayden Primo, when all signs are pointing that he'll be likely exiting the organization one way or another to make room for Jacob Fowler, they're still showing him that much respect to go back and forth. Some people are saying there's still a lack of respect that he's even splitting the net in the first place, and it should be Cayden Primo the whole way through. Understandable, but it's just been a very interesting dynamic, and I wonder how much it's been throwing a wrench into the play of the opposition.
Is this Cayden Primo's ticket back to the NHL? Because I think so.
I think he's going to get an NHL contract. I definitely think we might even end up trading his rights away to a team that's willing to give him a shot, because Dovesh is not going back down to the minors. Fowler needs to have all the room in the world to develop next year. Dovesh deserves his place, and Montembeault ain't going anywhere. So in theory, there's no room for Primo. Primo's been absolutely outstanding. And I do see a number of teams actually inquiring and taking a page out on him, at least for a backup goaltender position in the NHL. And God, like, literally, God bless the guy. Not to get religious, but I hope that he succeeds somewhere else. He just unfortunately does not have a place anymore within the organization. It's not justifiable.
And I've said this over and over again. When he got sent down, I'm like, he's gonna be fine. He's gonna play so well, and he's proven he's proven me right. Like he, I don't understand what the hell the problem is. Why can't he play? And I get it. Well, it's because the NHL is a lot better than the AHL. Yes, duh. But it's still hard for me to figure out. Like, is he just is it something upstairs? Does he lose confidence when he lets in a goal in the NHL versus the minors? I don't know. There's such a question mark as to why does he struggle at the NHL level, but in the minors, like Pascal Vincent said, like fuck, he looked like he stood at 6'12" and over 300 pounds, like blocking that net. It's insane. It's totally insane. I knew this was going to happen. I knew he was going to play stellar hockey in the minors. It's just for some reason I don't know, he just can't seem to find his groove. For one game in a while, he'll play amazing. You know what I mean? Remember when we went last season, that shutout against Columbus? You and I, we were there. We were in the press box. Like he looked like a regular NHL goalie, but he wasn't able to play consistent that way. It's so weird to try to figure out.
It's so sad because that was, I think, the day that he turned it around and said, "Look, Jake Allen had just been traded," and he says, "Much more to come." And
Yeah, I
unfortunately,
know.
it
It's
didn't
like
pan out like that.
it's just the
It's very sad.
beginning. Like,
Yeah, it sucks, but he has the capacity to really steal games, and he's so locked in. I only find that his puck handling has got better from previous years because his puck handling, like, it was heart attack central when he used to go behind the net.
yeah.
But he seems locked in. He seems to have really, like, secured his confidence, and I think that makes him, I don't want to say dangerous, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's going to find himself in a Charlie Lindgren type of position.
I think so. Wow, some goalies need more time. Some goalies, they start their NHL career at the ages of like 28, 29. Like Charlie Lindgren's one of them. Now he's finally got a consistent job in the NHL. It's some goalies need more time. Goalies take a lot more time. If your name is not Carey Price or Andre Vasilevsky, like or Sergei Bobrovsky, you're gonna need a bit more time. So maybe this is actually something that's normal, but because it's a Montreal Canadiens market, like he's under the microscope every freaking time. So maybe it's that. But I to me, that game 4, Jacob Fowler gets a start, then gets pulled. I personally don't think it was his fault, but I also think maybe he needed to go through somewhat of a not so good performance to understand what it takes to play at that level and play well. So you were there, you saw that happen. What's your take on that?
I'm gonna chalk it up to just mental fortitude. I think. Did you hear the sick podcast that Tony Marinaro interviewing Carey Price? That just came out last night at 10
Does a
p.m.
does a bear shit in the
Of
wood?
course. Okay.
Does a bear shit
Okay.
in the
Good.
woods? I wanted to get to
Okay.
that later on, but yeah, sure.
Okay. Good. You did your due diligence. You did your job as a fan to watch Carey Price. Jesus Christ, I miss that guy so much. I
Ah.
absolutely. Oh, Carey Price, man,
When he
they have to
said
retire that number. They have to. But
what?
but 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 he said. I just
Yeah,
want to go back to that
yeah,
and
yeah,
just
yeah.
talk about that goalie role. Is he said when he came in, he was just basically riding a high, and it was enjoyment in
Mhm.
its purest form, and just you got a job to do, get in the net and get it done. And
Yeah.
it sounds so stupid, but as a professional athlete, we only like. I think it was Jacques Plante who said it best. Like, imagine. I know the Place Belle is not the uh, it's not the Montreal Forum. But just to say, you make a mistake, there's a big red light that goes on behind you. There are people screaming, booing. Like,
Mhm.
you're the last man standing to make the save and keep your team from conceding a goal. You make a mistake as a goalie, that is an absolutely freaking brutal thing to do. And whether you like it or not, whether you imagine you're that good to be a professional, we're not. We are not. And I could
Nope.
only imagine the mental bugs that start forming. So my answer to you is just, I think the poor kid came in as, I don't want to say potential savior, but like at one point in time, Louis LeBlanc was a savior for this organization. At one point in time, like let's say it like this, you know, Cayden Primo came in.
Alex Galchenyuk and Jesperi
Alex,
Kotkaniemi were the big centermen that we need. Yeesh.
bingo. So you think like Cayden Primo, especially father playing for the Flyers and playing in the NHL for as many years as he did, like, oh, this kid is built to win. He knows what it takes to be an NHL player. Everybody's different. I'm not saying that he's mentally weak or strong, but everybody faces their challenges differently. And as a goalie, Marc Bergevin, Bob Gainey, it was another guy who came up on that
Yep.
interview. But these guys, a lot of them has said it, the toughest position to develop in is a goaltender in the NHL,
Mm-hmm.
and it takes the longest time. And there are going to be ups and downs. And unfortunately, I think the poor kid's timing is just shit because other goalies in our organization are doing well, and I just think he's finally locked it down mentally. He knows what it is to be a true professional, and everything came together. Finally, there's no weaker links.
Yeah.
What's your game day routine? Are you sleeping? Are you sleeping before the game? Can you sleep well after a game? Can you lock into that routine all around? And I think he finally figured it out. But shit, he figured it out. He figured it out too late. I don't think it's a question of anything else and getting better and getting. It's just all the coming of age and coming to fruition again. As I've used that expression a number of times in this episode, but I think it takes a lot more on the mental side for the goaltender as well. And again,
Big time.
imagine just
Yep.
2 games back to back, 3 games back to back where you let in a bad one or two bad goals. Like, what's wrong with me? What the hell am I doing? I've been practicing for this. Why are these going in? How am I letting them in? Am I not seeing? Should I try to stand a little bit taller? Oh shit, I'm not comfortable standing tall. Like that's just a simulation of what these guys might be thinking. And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
they have the best coaches and some of the best coaches within their respective league and everybody helping them, but there's a number of things that could have come up with them. So I'm just gonna chalk it up
Well,
to he figured it out. He
well,
figured it out how to be a pro.
but I think he figured out how to be a pro because he played 25 straight games out of like 28 when he got sent down. He needed to play. That three-way goalie rotation last season with Allen and Montembeault, I think that screwed him up a lot more than we actually think. I really, really, really do. I really
think
do.
so
I
too.
think he needed to play. He needed reps. It doesn't make sense that Jacob Dobes only 1 year in the minors and then he becomes a backup to Montembeault the year later. He played 52 games out of a total of 72 in the minors. He you know what I mean, 20 games that he played more than double of the games that he was a backup of that game. That's repetition. You need and this is not just hockey. Development comes from repetition and getting exposed to these situations. I see it in my line of work, and I'm sure we've seen it in anybody in any work industry, in any walks of life. The more you're exposed to stuff, the more you'll develop. Like
Yep.
that's how the brain works. Whether it's written skill, physical skill, mental skill, God knows what. I'm not opening that. I don't want to open that can of worms. But Cayden Primo needed to play, and he did play this year. But having said that, I'm going back to the point where like it's just unfortunate. There's probably not a spot for Cayden Primo. They need to give those reps and that level of exposure to Jacob Fowler next season. I
Yeah.
truly believe that. I truly, truly, truly believe that. We're going to see this offseason what the Canadiens do with both RFA goalies, Cayden Primo and Jacob Dobes. Happy birthday, by the way. So it's this is a very, very important, and maybe Cayden Primo knows that. Maybe he knows that. This is probably my last stint with this organization. Let me play well so somebody else recognizes me, and maybe they'll send me to that team that could give me a second chance. A lot of players do that. A lot of players at the end of their contract, you realize, oh my God, he's playing for a contract. Like yeah, but it's like, well, even if he's not, like they tell him, if you're not going to be part of this plan anymore, you could be part of somebody else's plan. So play for that. Go play hard for that. You never know who's going to be watching you, who's going to be scouting you. I'm not saying that's exactly what's happening in Cayden Primo's case, but it's a possibility. It's a big time possibility. And
I
yeah,
don't think it's a possibility. I don't even think it's a likelihood. I think it's a certainty. You know,
mm,
he's played well enough to have 31 other organizations, at least at the AHL level, want to have him and help
yeah,
their, young kids have that playoff experience and get to meaningful hockey, get to a place where they get to play meaningful hockey is what I mean. But yeah, I definitely think that there are opportunities also in the NHL. And I I think about what you said before, that three goalie rotation. It's so uh oh man. I one second. I'm just looking at something over here, but anyways, all that to say is I think they made a big mistake in signing Allen to that extension. It would have been crazy to see. I know Montembeault was very early and they didn't have even Montembeault at the beginning when that was signed, but damn it, man.
it was a tough call. I don't think it
Yeah,
was an easy call to make. But so they're going to be facing the Charlotte Checkers. They're going with no William Trudeau and no Tyler Witherspoon on defense. Both of them with an injury, and there's no signs of them coming back for now. I think they mentioned that the Vincent Arsenault is getting the green light. It's just a matter of finding where he fits into the lineup. Now, we really haven't seen much. I don't even think Laval faced the Charlotte Checkers at all this season, so it's a little tough to judge them. But just that in their last 5 playoff games, they got four straight wins. Like I mentioned before, they sweep the Hershey Bears, whereas the Laval Rocket, excuse me, they're 3-2 in their last 5. Obviously, Laval has a better record, the 48-19-5, whereas Charlotte is 44-22-6. Charlotte does have more goals scored, only 5 more goals, but whatever. And um, Laval has less goals against, 178 versus their 185. Uh, Laval is a lot more penalized, so that's going to probably be a key thing as well.
yeah.
Speaking of Cayden Primo and going into this series, do you think Pascal Vincent keeps that goalie rotation going? I
I don't
I
think
think
so.
you got to give it to Primo, man. I just really think right now you
Yeah.
got to give it the hot hand. If here's what I'm thinking, so it's finally going to be a best of 7 series, but the format is 2 games at home, 3 games away, back to 2 games at home. My take is this. I think Cayden Primo is going to get the first 2 home games. And if he gets both of those games a win, if he wins both of those games, I think the first game in Charlotte might go to Jacob Fowler just to see. But at the end of the day, I still think it could be a risky move because if, God forbid, Fowler has a poor performance and they lose, you don't want to give Charlotte that momentum. That's my
Yeah.
only. That's my only concern. And it
I
may not happen, but I just think that if Pascal Vincent were to go down that route, it could be a risky move.
I think that there's no chance. I don't think that there's any chance unless Primo's playing poorly. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think that there's any chance whatsoever that they're going to make the switch. And again, it's no knock on Fowler. Now we're entering a game of we're in the final 4.
Yeah.
We gave both guys an equal opportunity to prove themselves. One guy is truly standing alone. Uh, we want to win.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree. And as much as I want to see Fowler, just because I can't wait for this kid to be the future number 1 of the Montreal Canadiens, but I think his time will come, and he's such a team player, though. Like, did you see him celebrate like crazy on the bench when Laval was scoring goals? when they won and they got on the ice, he's like high-fiving all the guys. He's screaming like he's such a team player, this kid. Like I can't wait for I can't wait for him to be part of this, of part of the Montreal Canadiens. But like, even I want to see him. I want to see him have success with Laval next season if he's not going to be playing any more playoff games for now.
All signs are pointing to him being like the absolute ultimate style of teammate that
Mm-hmm.
we want to have. We said he's got the mind frame for winning and that competitive edge, but like it's so refreshing. At the end of the day, some people might say, well, you want to have somebody who's absolutely positively going to be fighting for the net at every single chance that they have.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's necessarily like in the modern day. I don't think that's a healthy attitude to have. I think they have a lot of good kids. Um, I think one of the things that the Montreal Canadiens have done so well is just create such a dynamic chemistry and a uh, look at your like protect your fellow man, protect your brother,
Mm-hmm.
look out for one another, and there's no room for egos. I
Yeah.
think there are a
Big
lot of
time.
kids that have very high, very high expectations of themselves and standards for themselves, and they're very understanding with one another. Though they're not
Yeah.
hard. They might push each other to be better. They might encourage one another to be better, but I don't think they bury like. I'm sorry to say, I think at a certain point in time, it might have been celebrated that certain players were. That's a very that's a they as they say in French, c'est un déclaration chargée. It's a very like
It's a strong
that's a
statement,
gutsy thing.
or
It's
yeah,
a
yeah.
gutsy thing to say.
So, so bold
That's a
statement. Yeah.
yeah, it's a bold
Yeah.
statement to say, but I think at a certain point in time, there were individuals who might have on the respective Montreal Canadiens team who might have maybe celebrated somebody's downfalls for thereby creating an opportunity for themselves. I just don't think that, and it's so refreshing to see one of the pillars, the future pillars. And I'm not saying that Dobesh, I'm not saying that Monty can't be that guy. I'm just saying I think all anticipation is that where the ceiling stands, Fowler has the highest ceiling of them all. And it's
Mm-hmm.
just so nice to see that the guy that has the highest ceiling of them all is coming in with that attitude. So couldn't agree more.
So back to Carey Price on the Sick podcast with Tony Marinaro. Like, uh, I think Tony asked him, "What advice would you give him?" And I think Carey Price said, "Just live in the moment, and it's what a time it is to be alive and fulfilling your dreams. So like, enjoy the journey," is what he said, and I loved hearing that was like his message to Jacob Fowler, because they're sort of kind of going down the same path. Like, you
Yeah.
finish your junior year and you go straight into the pros. You're going to the playoffs. Now, granted, Carey Price was given the starting goaltender position, whereas Fowler is switching between Primo. But it's still there's still signs pointing that they could not suffer the same fate, but live. They might experience the same thing. But the one thing out of that Carey Price interview that completely ruined me. So Tony tells him, "He's like, hey man, you look good, you look good." And he's like, "Yeah, I feel good." And Tony's like, "Well, you still look good enough, like in shape enough that like you look like you could play." And Carey Price goes, "Yeah, I do feel like I could play." And then I remember my knee is no longer at an NHL caliber level. And that's when my heart sank, and it's like, oh, forget it. Yeah, he ain't coming back. Oh my god! Like, I rather,
Yeah.
no, I'd rather not say what I'd rather. I'm not gonna say what I would rather hear and see, but no, but oh my god, that was the worst thing. And it's like you got. I hate that. You get a little glimpse of hope that maybe, perhaps, possibly, just you get shut down and your hopes and dreams are ruined for a Carey Price comeback. But the debate still keeps going on whether we're not gonna discuss it in this episode, but there will come a time when we will probably dedicate an entire episode on that. But like, the whole, should Carey Price get his number retired? I still think he's a Hall of Famer. Is he up there with one of the best ones like Sergei Bobrovsky and Andre Vasilevsky, Henrik Lundqvist, and all that? I still think he is. There's a specific reason why he gets voted the best goaltender for almost 10 years in a row, but that's a topic for
Another day.
for another day. Tonight on Tuesday, the Edmonton Oilers look to extend their lead over the Dallas Stars. Chris, I know you don't like Dallas because you don't like the color green, but
as I wear green for
well,
our
it's kind
episode.
of it's
No. I don't like I don't like the green jerseys for some odd reason, but that's not the reason. I know that they have a history. You have Carbonneau, you have Gainey, and whatnot. Like there's a certain
like
history
Modano.
with
Yeah.
Modano, evidently Modano back in the day. I just it really, especially like how many years now has it been Florida dominance? It's going to be 6 years straight that the Sunshine State gets to enjoy hockey in the finals of the Stanley Cup, and the image that stays with me. I know that there are fans in Tampa. I know that they got behind their Stanley Cup championship, but the video of the Panthers players walking in the downtown core
Yeah.
with the cup and people driving by and saying like, "What are these idiots? Who
What
are
the
these
heck is
guys? Like,
going on?
what are they holding?" That hurts. That hurts a lot. Like you go to Dallas and people are going to be talking about the Cowboys. You go to Florida, you're going to be hearing about the Dolphins. You'll hear before the Tampa Bay Rays before, even though they're not doing so well, you'll probably hear about the Rays
Yeah.
before you hear about the Lightning. You'll hear, about the Bucks before you hear about the Lightning. There's so many other sports in those respective states that take precedence over hockey, and I th- I think like it's so hurtful. If you were to tell me Minnesota Wild are winning the Stanley Cup, god damn, that's a great hockey market. Those are people who are deserving of seeing it.
Minnesota is a big time hockey market in the States. Big time.
But
Big time.
it's been exactly that. It's been years and years since I felt that it's gone to maybe Chicago, even Pittsburgh. You have the Steelers, you have the Pirates, you have all sorts of other professional sports team that take precedence over their NHL teams, and I just really am dying to see a market where, other than Toronto, a market where and Boston, where they're actually going to be
Yeah.
like borderline in tears and so proud of their respective organization going all the way and winning the championship. Like it doesn't mean that to Florida. It doesn't mean that to their people. Like, oh shit, we won the Stanley Cup. We're celebrating today. Oh, okay, great. Baseball season is about to start. Football season is about to start. What's next? Like this
Yeah.
goes down in the history books. This potentially becomes a holiday here in Quebec the next time the Canadiens win the Stanley Cup. Nobody shows up to work the next day because every different
Everybody's still
cultural
hungover.
background, English and French speakers, and all other immigrants from all walks of life, the rich, the poor, everybody's gonna come together, be arm in arm, hand in hand, in tears, chanting the ole oles, being so proud of the guys. Like so many markets, it doesn't mean this. It doesn't mean even close to this, and that's why I know that we have a difference of opinions on if a Canadian team is to win it, it has to be the Montreal Canadiens for you. I don't care if
Yeah.
it's any other Canadian team other than Ottawa and especially Toronto. I would be welcoming of a championship here in Canada or in the most relevant markets in the United States because it
Yeah.
just means something so much
I think
more important. And yeah,
I think I'm a lot more open now to Edmonton winning it because I
McJesus
think
has to win a cup. He
I
has
but I
to.
but I also think that we're going to see another Edmonton versus I picked Dallas to beat Edmonton. Jesus Christ, they lost Rupert Hintz now, so that hurts them big time. I don't think he's going to be playing tonight, but we're going to see. Mind you, the game has started now, so um, it's funny. I have the Memorial Cup on. It's 1-1 between the Medicine Tiger Hats and the London Knights, but I forgot it's 8 o'clock,
Bro,
so I'm going to be.
what's going on with the pronounce it Medicine Hat Tigers? You
What's
said
with
Medicine Tiger Hat.
Tiger Hats? Medicine Hat Tiger. Yeah, it's Tuesday. Leave me alone. All right, here we go. The Edmonton Dallas game 0-0, 17 minutes into the first period. So
Okay.
Florida is they're just built differently. Even if they lost the other night against Carolina, whatever. they didn't have Reinhardt, they didn't have Mikola, they didn't have Greer, so it kind of showed. But I don't think Florida is going to be in panic mode after just losing one game to the Carolina Hurricanes. This team is built differently, man. They have such a culture that, we talk about Montreal Canadiens culture. If there's a team that fucking beats out their level of culture and team spirit and team bonding, it's the Florida Panthers, man. Like, this team is unbelievable. When you have a captain like Sasha Barkov playing the way he plays, Aaron Ekblad too. I would take him on the Canadiens any day. I don't care if fans dislike what I said or disagree. Doesn't matter about your feelings. The fact is, Aaron Ekblad on the right side of the Montreal Canadiens would look fan-freaking-tastic. Just put him with Cayden Gooley or put him with Arbor Xhekaj. Just think that for a split second here, we would all, in the words of Zook, jizz, okay? That's number one. Number two, it's amazing how I love Brad Marchand now with the Florida Panthers. Just change one jersey to another, and I actually like the fucking rat.
Well, it's funny because they
insane.
make fun of it, they poke fun of it, and they say, like, God damn it, I hate you, but no, damn do I hate you, but do I ever respect you, type of thing.
That's pretty much it. And something I thought of before coming on to record this episode, I went on a rant saying how the Toronto Maple Leafs are a bunch of frauds, and some are arguing like somebody was like, yeah, well, the Edmonton Oilers, they've had McDavid and Draisaitl for years and they haven't done anything. It's like they've gone to the Stanley Cup Finals a year ago and they're probably going to go back again.
Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals.
You know what I mean? McDavid and Draisaitl show up and play. Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner do not show up to play.
Yeah.
Like, not even close. Like, you do not compare that. And something else came to mind. Speaking of the Florida Panthers and the Toronto Maple Leafs, if, let's say, the Montreal Canadiens had a 100-point player, had a player that scored 100 points, first of all, we'd be celebrating like the next coming of Christ, or he's the next Guy Lafleur and all that stuff. Blah blah blah. We're gonna win the ça sent la coupe. Even if we don't win, it's still gonna sent la coupe. Can you imagine if we trade that player for a Matthew Tkachuk? What do you think? What do you think this fan base would have done? Well, I think they would have gone fucking bananas. They would have lost their shit. Doesn't matter if his name is French, Russian, English, Canadian, French Canadian.
Huberdeau. Imagine Jonathan Huberdeau was us. It was our guy. 100
Jonathan
player
was on the Canadiens, and we traded for Matthew Tkachuk. We would all go ballistic. But look what the Florida Panthers did. Sometimes, my point in all this is sometimes changing that player for another player who could almost put up 100 points, definitely could put up 90 points. Look what Matthew Tkachuk did to this Florida team. He changed the face of this franchise as a whole, and whatever culture he brought, it's going to be, there's a very, very good chance it's 3 Stanley Cup Finals in a row where he helps bring that team there. 3. All it took was making that trade. So my point is, I think that's what the Toronto Maple Leafs need to fucking do. Bye-bye Marner, or bye-bye, I don't think it's going to be bye-bye Austin Matthews, but sometimes you have to do that. Have to do that.
John Tavares, I'm going to say something here. John Tavares showed way more leadership, and that guy still deserves to have the seat. That's one.
I had this conversation with someone. I couldn't agree more. That was the biggest stupid move the Toronto Maple Leafs and Brendan Chanaplan-Ugats did is take away the C out of John Tavares and put it on Austin Matthews. That was the stupidest move they thought that change would have sparked something different. Get out of here.
I didn't get the chance to be on the Leafs losing episode. It's been a crazy busy few weeks with some sickness, but I need to share a few things. So John Tavares, the true captain of that team still, I would welcome him as our second line center for 2 to 4 years. Any day of the week, the guy almost scored 40 goals this past season. I know it's a completely different team. I know they have their regular season stats, but nevertheless, I think that guy could be a very, very good veteran and a great second line support for Nick Suzuki. That's one. But he's not coming Fans in Toronto
I
talking
doubt it.
about signing him for $3 million for 3 years. Wake up, stop dreaming. The guy just about scored 40 goals. The guy at least has $5 to $7 million, I think, a year. So that's one.
Well,
Number
he's
two,
taking.
talking
Yeah.
about Austin Matthews. I love the comments. There's a reoccurring comment that I'll get to in a second, but people are saying, "Oh, Matthews didn't score. Matthews didn't score enough, but he did this. He shut down players. He did." Number one, Cole Caulfield in 5 games had as many as Austin Matthews had in 2 series. You're going to talk about a generational goal scoring talent who doesn't fucking put up goals when it counts the most.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if he could shut it down. So the comment has been, good job on you. You're paying $13 million for Philip Danault. And it's true because you have a guy
Oh,
who may be able to shut down other
I,
teams' players, but
I.
if
That's
there's
the
a
thing.
guy in the game who has to be able to influence, like, you're looking on the bench, guys, we're down. Who of us is going to score? He's the guy who's supposed to stand up and get it done. He never gets it done. I'll go a step further. I think Mitch Marner, and this is the most glorious part of it all. This guy is the one who blocks a trade for Rantanen,
Yeah.
more of a playoff built type of player. He blocks this trade, and Martin is likely going to walk away for nothing. So not only did Toronto not get anything, they're also having one of their most valuable blue chip trade pieces that
Say bye
just
bye.
walks for free. Remember when the Canadiens had Koivu, Kovalev walk? This
Yeah.
is worse. This is
Oh
by
yeah.
far worse. Like,
Oh yeah.
Toronto
Big
should
time.
be. I hope they're devastated. They should be devastated. And I will go as far as saying this to bring it back to what you're saying, Sammy. Yes, I think Toronto has far too many individualistic players that are looking out for themselves. I also think, like, and I'm not saying that they're individualistic and they're selfish, but the two key guys, they're not ready to go into the dirty and hard areas. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think they work well, and they push each other to overcome that fear of doing so. But also, I think of it in terms of Max Pacioretty. Like, Max Pacioretty was great when David Desharnais had that chemistry and was able to make the
Yeah.
passes. I
Yeah.
think Marner's still the guy who makes passes, but if Marner had been surrounded with Matthew Tkachuk type players that could defend him better, I think Mitch Marner thrives. If this guy goes to a tougher team, a little bit of a ballsier team, I think this guy could be another 115, 120 point scorer as long as the pressure's not
Yeah.
on him. He's not going to have that disgusting pressure and hatred from the fans, that polarized, bipolar shit that's thrown his way either year. So shame on you, Toronto. You get what you fucking deserve. Pardon me for saying it
Here,
as that.
here's what I
Um,
think. I'm still a believer that Mitch Marner's a type of player that will help you get to the playoffs. But for now, he hasn't proved himself as a player that's able to help your team get through the playoffs. I do agree with that statement. You put him on a team that's ballsier, that has a lot more guts, that has a Matthew Tkachuk. I still think he needs to be on the team where he's maybe the number 2 or even the number 3 best player on that team, because he's arguable. Like, it's I think I think it's safe to say Toronto fan base and hockey experts see Austin Matthews as the number 1 on Toronto, and then right behind him is Mitch Marner. I think if look what he did on Team Canada. He was maybe the 3rd best player or 4th, and he still played well when he had to. So I totally agree with you. He needs to get out of there and just be with he needs to be a team that has that's they got no culture. We talk about culture a lot on this episode. There's no winning culture on that team, because I think there might be they probably is. At the end of the day, teammates they'll still have that team spirit, but it probably just won't work. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like,
yeah,
it's probably
I
just one of those cases. It's just not working. Mitch Marner with the Toronto Maple Leafs is not working. They got to get the and I'm saying this as I'm not saying this as a Montreal Canadiens fan. I'm saying this as a regular hockey fan, because as a Montreal Canadiens fan, it's like, no, screw them. I hope they find no one to replace Marner. I hope they choke. I hope they crumble. I hope they don't make play. Blah blah. as a hockey fan, look at what the Florida Panthers did. They made a switch, an excellent player for another excellent player, but that just brings something different. That Matthew Tkachuk brings something that Jonathan Huberdeau couldn't bring to the Florida Panthers. It's that Matthew Tkachuk plays mind games with everyone. There's that highlight of him in the box, and he's looking at him. He's just like, you know what I mean? It's mind games.
But,
it's mind games. Mitch Marner crumbles at that. He
but
crumbles at that.
But that's where I agree. Maybe in a certain sense, he does crumble. But it's also too who is Mitch Marner passing to? Passing to Matthews. Matthews again. I will say the going gets tough. The space that he has is completely cut. He's got guys who are are closing the gap far more quickly. The difference, I'm not even going to use, we're always using Kachuk's as an example. I'm going to give two random names. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say, I'm going to say number one, Jamie Benn.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say number two, I'm going to think somebody who's even less so, but Philip Forsberg in Nashville. These are guys.
I love him.
Like I just look at these guys and they start getting whacked, they start getting slashed, and they're just like, God damn it, I'm gonna get through you. Like next play, watch what I'm gonna do. I find Matthews, and that's the thing. Marner is going to be that perimeter player. Same thing as Caulfield. Let's look at it at Caulfield. They said Caulfield's the goal scorer, Marner's the passer.
Yeah.
Marner will operate in his safe spaces and do what he does best in his safe, non-aggressive, non-physical places. But if the other guy that he's depending on, meaning if Nick Suzuki wasn't ready to get dirty and to go fight for the puck in the corner, and Slavkovsky wasn't ready to go fight for that puck in the corner and go fetch the puck and get it to him, he would not be scoring goals. Mitch Marner, what I see him facing year after year is this wonderful goal scorer who chickens out and is not willing to get a scratch on him.
Yeah.
Not willing to get into the scrums, push past players, trip, fall, get the puck off the face and get. I'm not encouraging a puck off the face to get into the net, but I'm just saying.
But sacrifice the body. You got to.
He won't get into the positions.
They won't sacrifice the bodies. No, that's it. No, that's exactly
it.
And
it's two guys that are not sacrificing the body. So okay, you two morons, you become perimeter players instantaneously because nobody's willing to lay their balls on the line and actually do something.
Chris Nyland says it. Some of these guys, they're just not willing to pay the price, and you have to be willing to pay the price if you want to win. Winning hurts. Winning hurts.
I mean, you and I, like we have our full-time jobs. Like I can't show up to fucking work with a tooth missing and scars and a black eye and shit. But these guys have the best dental professionals, medical professionals ready to sew them up. And I'm not encouraging lose an eye and go out all out and be dangerous about it and ruin yourself physically. I'm just saying you can afford to take a bump, a scratch. Like fuck, when you hear Josh Anderson not practicing with the team for the better part of multiple months because he's so banged up and he's fighting through and he's one of the most aggressive guys on the team in the playoffs.
He's fighting Tom Wilson. And he's fighting Tom Wilson on the players' bench. That's exactly culture.
What you're missing. Exactly, that is culture. And it's heart.
Culture.
It's heart. I'd say it's a substitute. It's a synonym of one another. They have no heart, they have no guts, they have no culture, and I'm just hoping for Toronto as a Montreal fan. I am just hoping that they fucking didn't figure it out just 1 year too late. These guys walk away. They can't get the type of players to do the job, and they just go straight downhill. The other guy that somebody has to come and steal, whether it be the Montreal Canadiens or any other team, somebody take Matthew Knies at the same time away from the Toronto Maple Leafs, and he will be a dumpster fire.
I would bring him to the Canadiens in a heartbeat. Send him an offer sheet. We'll end it on this, but speaking of heart and culture, Edmonton Oilers just grabbed the 1-0 lead. Leon Draisaitl on the power play. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins has continued to performing under the wings of McDavid and Draisaitl. So 1-0 Edmonton.
Question for you. Is Edmonton, they don't have Vasilevsky in nets. Skinner has played better than he has in previous years, but he's no Vasilevsky. At the same time, would you consider? Would you really consider? I find that no matter which team is going to go up, it looks like Edmonton, but no matter which team is going to go up against what looks like Florida, is going to have a very hard time. But do you think, genuinely and wholeheartedly, do you think that I'm getting a Tampa Bay vibe with Edmonton? They've dealt with shit on top of shit on top of shit. Remember when they lost in the finals? They
If
they, they
they
were getting really close, and then back to back years, Cup, Stanley Cup, Stanley Cup. I think it was 3 years again. 3 years for them. They
three,
lost
yeah,
one.
against Colorado, in 2022 they lost to Colorado. Yeah,
So I'm
yeah.
just saying, like, I think that the Tampa Bay Lightning, what they went through, I think the Oilers went through, and they're giving me
If
that same vibe, that same feeling.
if the Oilers cannot be intimidated by the Florida Panthers if it's those two in the finals. I think last season they got intimidated a little bit, but no, this Edmonton Oilers team, they didn't look so good against LA. Then they just flipped the switch, and now they look like they're unstoppable. Like Dallas looked like they were unstoppable. I mean, look, game's not over, series is not over, but my God, if Dallas loses this one and goes down 3-1 series, that's going to be a tough one to come back
No,
against
wait,
the
hold up.
Oilers.
They said not 3-1 already in games.
No, it's 3-1 Florida Carolina.
I'm losing my mind.
It's okay. We're
My
gonna
dad,
call
my
it a
dad's. I'm blaming.
yeah.
I'm full fledged blaming my dad. I was away for the weekend without cell phone reception, and when I
Yeah.
was driving back, he was saying it was 3-1. So my apologies.
That's 3-1 Florida Carolina. So we're gonna end it on that, Chris. This was awesome talking to you again. Thanks to everybody tuning in on YouTube. Thanks you once again. Please like and subscribe. Absolutely free. Share this with your friends. Take part in the conversation. Let us know your thoughts about the Laval Rocket and these current Stanley Cup playoffs. All episodes available audio format, Apple Podcast, Spotify. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And a big shout out to our sponsors, Habs Cave and Mike's Barbecue Rub. Follow them on Instagram as well. Chris, have a good evening. We will reconvene soon at the end of this series before the Stanley Cup Finals. Looks like it's showing that it might be another rematch between the Florida Panthers and the Oilers of Edmonton. See what I did there?
Oh God, you know what? Today I'm gonna give you a pass at this point in time.
I had to end it on that, but no, and between the Florida Panthers and the Edmonton Oilers. So have a good evening, Chris. Enjoy the games. We'll definitely talk on the next episode, and hopefully more of the boys show up as well. But until then, bye now.
Now.
Good